Good evening. So, welcome to the Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. We're on season 2, episode 15. We just finished the race the base and out at Coronado Naval Station. Coronado, like it's a tornado. Coronado Naval Station. We had all three series on display this weekend. Uh, we had a lot of calamity. We also had some really good racing. To my dismay, I was actually very impressed with the speed of the course. So, let's work our way backwards. Let's talk about what we just watched with the cup race first and foremost. Uh, as he got out of the car and said, it's prime time. So he has now won his first cup race in part time and in impressive fashion at that. He when you take his racing from this weekend and you look at what we saw yesterday, he makes Taylor Gray look like a clown in the way in which he respectfully raced a guy competing for a championship and never, when they got into the wall, things like that, they gave each other space and gave the positions back, and they wanted to duel it out fairly and cleanly. And that could be partially because they're 23XI teammates, but also I just think that's kind of the caliber person he is. So with that, let's start with our cup race. What do you think about the racing overall?
Uh, I'm going to say something that I'm sure Alan never thought he'd hear Blake say on this podcast. Can we go here again next year? Uh, I we haven't seen this type of road course passing since before the next gen, since probably honestly since probably before stage racing. Uh, there was passing all day long. Tire wear was insane. Um, it was awesome. Who would have thought the trick to tire wear on a road course would be concrete?
Not only concrete, but mixes of concrete, railroad
Yeah,
tracks, flight
no,
lines, parking
like,
lots, aircraft
but
runway.
that
Like,
might be something they need to look at. Like, let's pave these road courses in concrete instead of
yeah.
asphalt
Well,
because
yeah.
the amount of tire wear today and the comers and goers and
Mhm.
I mean nobody was getting away from each other. I mean, not till the last 10 laps all of a sudden, but
No, and even then you saw they were punished for that decision. Like I think probably a couple more laps and Heim might have been right there with Reddick losing a tire. We're not
maybe
quite sure what
maybe
caused it, but I mean, those two pushed the tires to their maximum effort that last one because they
yes,
were
they did.
well over 10 seconds. They put on like an SVG like ass whooping
Yeah.
on the rest of the field. I think Bubba, when he saw that his teammate lost a tire, I think he was sitting there licking his chops like, this is what I thought was going to happen. They're going to come back to me. I better kick it in gear when he passed Larson um, to try and get
You
himself
know,
back in position.
what was it with 5 laps to go? You had 2311 first through third, Larson, and then fifth.
Fifth. Yep.
You had all of 2311 right there, and you just shake your head at the Bubba part, especially. He was 2 laps down
Oh, that was
and finished
impressive.
second.
Like beyond
And finished
impressive.
second.
Yeah.
He anybody that says he's not a good race car driver, I'm sorry, you're an idiot.
I
You're an
was
absolute
impressed.
fool.
Yeah.
You can hate him for his the crap that happened in 2020. You hate him for this and what his mouth and whatever, but the guy can drive,
Yeah.
and he's earned his spot there. And you can't just come from behind for 2 laps. Yeah, yes, he was a wave around twice, whatever, but you still have to make it through the entire field, and he did
Yeah. You
that
got to survive.
and,
You have to
and
keep
convincing
yourself in
fashion.
position. Um,
Um,
yeah, I
but the
was I
racing,
was extremely impressed with Bubba's performance. Like you said, the 23XI cars in general, but the 23 team, rather than, old Bubba where he'd get down on himself, make mistakes, maybe even compound at speed and penalties, etc. They had their issue with the wheel, got laps down, got it back, and they were in position to win. If either Heim, because of the pushing to loses the tire, or those two when they made contact those two times and got into the marbles, they could have easily wrecked. And all right, Bubba's sitting right there to capitalize on it. And you don't get there without A, Freddie talks about it all the time, but Bubba mentions it every now and then. Like Bubba has put in a ton of work on his road course racing to get better. You know, when he first came on the scene, everybody was like, okay, he's a one-trick pony. He's good at drafting. And he was, that was true. But as he's been, his cup career's progressed, he's filled out across the board. You know, he's won at mile and a halfs. He's in contention at the road courses, especially a road course like today, which was extremely technical. And fast, way faster than I think any of us probably thought it was going to be. When you saw the preview videos from iRacing and everything, some of that's the behind the car view, some of it's, they're taking their time trying to learn the corners. But when you saw the complexity of some of those corners, you're like, there's no way this is going to be fast. Like Chicago looked slow by comparison. This looked very fast, like a Watkins Glen type road course. So I'm with you. I actually would like to go back there as well. I don't think there's any way we do just because of the sensitive nature of the facility that you're hosting this on and all the logistics, all the military personnel, schedules you interrupt, the deployment things, all the different operations that go around it, and all the security that's involved. But the effort, I gotta commend NASCAR. When they announced this, I had a lot of negative stuff to say. I had a lot of negative stuff to say coming into it. I was wrong. It was a fantastic race. All three races had good tire wear, had good speed, lots of passing, some of it dirty, some of it there's a lot of, now there don't get me wrong, there's definitely room for improvement. But I would love to see us do this again because the racing was good. It was way better than a lot of the road course racing we've had in a long time.
Tums missed a insane opportunity to name turn one the heartburn turn.
Yeah, there was.
It was an issue in all three events. There was a wreck there in all three events.
Yep.
It took out some key players in all three events, and it was always the leader all three times.
Yep.
And it goes to show you it doesn't matter if you're out front on any track. You are not immune to it. And
I'll say that
there were some hellacious wrecks in that spot.
Yeah, these with the concrete K-rail barriers and the fencing and we saw it first in practice, then really big in trucks and bigger with the double red flags in the O'Reilly series, and then again today. Like there were some massive hits, a lot of damage. I think the O'Reilly cars probably took the most damage out of the three series in terms of
for sure
total number of cars damaged to the bodies. And even though O'Reilly's still composites compared to truck, which are steel bodies, I knew the cars today for Cup, even if they had damage, wouldn't be to the extreme just because of all how reinforced they are. They still crush, but they don't crush anything. Like if we were in the Gen 6 car, a lot of these guys, we might have had 12 cars running the rest of the race. Like just because then they definitely wouldn't have been like what happened racing for the lead. They wouldn't have been able to touch like that and keep going. Both of them would have had flat tires. And Bubba would have come skating through to win also, but Bubba also probably wouldn't have been able to recover 2 laps.
no
wheel with that old car. So I got to give this car its props because it allowed us to have a lot more players left over in the game in such a technical, fast, and honestly, I'm not gonna call it a demolition derby, but it was a gauntlet. You had to survive a gauntlet to win this race today and even be in contention. Larson's car was extremely clean when it got to the end, as was Bubba's, as was Heim's and Reddick's. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see it again.
So
Especially now that they've done some learning. Yeah.
To go through the race though, like stage one, it was pretty clean. There wasn't really anything going on. But it was still it was clean, but it was great racing. Like I didn't want to caution. I was having fun. This is awesome. And the race played out naturally. We talked about it before, but they talked about other podcasts. Like they had a caution right at 1 to go or 2 to go or something like that of first stage, and there was a great opportunity for NASCAR to say, "This is the stage end," but we still ran extra lap. Now, they did a great job today. There was not a long caution all day long. It was 3 laps tops, and we went back at it. And I think they did a really good job as far as that. When we did it, Road America, if there was a caution, you go take a nap for a half hour because it wasn't going to be coming back. So they did really good. They did a quickie caution every time, except for the only caution that was long was the one that SVG was in, and Austin Hill definitely needed to figure out what he's doing there, and it
Yeah.
happened all weekend. You are not going to win on lap 35.
Yep. There was a lot of people that made mistakes early on, whether it's, when we look at the points here in a little bit, there's a lot of guys that had an opportunity to capitalize and forfeited that opportunity through either aggression or strategy that differed from their typical race strategy because maybe they changed it based on what they saw for the weekend. Uh, you know, honestly, I thought at one point, and I mean, Hill was up there, so I thought he was going to be a contender for the win until he got into, him and Zilich got into the wall, which, yeah, it's Hill's fault, but his teammate put him 3 wide when SVG
Well,
went down in there and he hit the back of, yeah, he did back out, but if you see him, he slams in the back of the 88 at the same time. So like it's a compounding thing. Like, and again, it's not time to do that yet. And I'm honestly surprised by how SVG ran this race or the 97 team in general. They forfeited the stage points in stage one,
yeah,
ended up getting wrecked in stage two.
that's going to come back and bite them.
I think it's too late now.
Going to come back and bite them. They're cooked. I don't
Yep.
care if they win next week or not. They're cooked.
Oh, they could not have. They're one of the few that could not afford that were in there that could not afford to spot the field any points. He needed to have a maximum points day to win this race, to score stage points in both stages, and either win the race or stay in the top three. And he needs to do the same thing next weekend because as of now, he's fallen. He went from in points. I've got both tabs up. So SVG was 14th, and he had a just over a 7 point buffer, 6 point buffer over 16th. He's now, so he gave up 16 points to that, plus he is now 4 points below, no, 5 below the cut line. So he more than likely will make it up next week at Sonoma. But 2 of these bad finishes in a row with the following 8 tracks that are going to come after this in the race to the chase, they're done. They had an opportunity and they blew it. I do not see them. But when you compare who they're racing for the spots, I was talking with my dad about this earlier today because we do our own internal family fantasy and everything. And I just don't see SVG beating Priest, Cindric, Jones, Byron, Bell, Bubba, Briscoe, Logano, Keselowski, or McDowell at any of the tracks that come after these road courses, or even Smith or Ross Chastain. Like, these guys are making up ground. They're coming. Riley Herbst jumped 3 spots today.
Yeah,
And
if
SVG's not only 50 points ahead of him. So
if Eric Jones, I know Eric's in right now, but if he has another, if just an average day, if he's in the top 16 after Sonoma, I think it's cruise control from there on out.
yeah, I agree because
if they keep running like they have the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. Both him and Nemechek ran strong at times. Jones kept his car clean in one piece, finished well. Because again, we look at set Sonoma aside and we look at what they've got to go through left in the remaining 8. Chicagoland, Atlanta, North Wilkesboro, Indianapolis, Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, Daytona. Yeah. If anybody thinks that 97 team is going to outpoint any of those guys I mentioned at the remaining 8 races after Sonoma, they've lost their mind. You might get 1 or 2 of them, but you're not going to get all of them. And so they could not afford to have this happen today, and they could not afford to have the problems they had at Gateway the week before. So finishing bad at both, I think that finished their run that he was putting together. They'll still finish with a good year, but it's going to be a what could have been. And I mean, he had what 3/10 on the field when he qualified. He hit the wall and still won the pole.
Yeah.
So like, there's no reason for me why they played the strategy the way they played it. I feel like they played it too safe. Yeah, he was the fastest car. He's the best at conserving tires. And we know that. Like, he let other guys get out front, see how hard he needed to push it. He should have run his race instead of letting other people dictate what he was going to do. And I think when they come back and look at it, this will be the race that ended their run right here, where they chose not to run the race the way they should have.
So so 21, 21st up to 16th are only basically within a race apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Even more than that. Christopher Bell in 12th with 422 points. That's another one that made a massive mistake today. Christopher Bell should have stayed in that car instead of putting rookie Brent Cruz in there. Because look at everybody who wrecked out. All Bell had to do was drop to the back and let the carnage unfold and then come up and take the free points. Instead, he gets 1 point and drops 2 spots in the standings, and he's 55 points ahead
and William Byron
of the cut
1 point behind him.
Yep, and Byron's 1 point behind him. So that's less than a race. That's a race win without any of the stage points, with 8 races to go. And he's still probably going to do the same thing again next week at Sonoma, which, looking at this, I really think JGR needs to strongly look at keeping him in the car. I get he's racing with a disadvantage with the cast on his arm and everything.
3 weeks after, I think his arm will be fine by next week.
Let's hope so, because if not, they have another single points day. They're going to be right there fighting for their life for the next 8 races, because everybody else, you're spotting the groups you're having to beat. Again, look at who's climbed in while you're tumbling down the standings. Eric Jones has jumped up now to 14th. Cindric is back in. Priest is back in. And yeah, they're barely in. But if you do that again, you two guys are going down while they're coming up. 55 points looks like a lot until you look at what Denny Hamlin has crushed off of Tyler Reddick's lead since earlier this spring. And that's another one that Reddick's going to look at what could have been. And also Hamlin. Hamlin entered this race 15 behind Reddick. And when that caution came out and Reddick had pitted and Hamlin didn't, and he was on 5 laps older tires than even Reddick, I said it in our group chat, like, that was a mistake. The 11 should have been racing one person, because you guys have separated yourselves from everybody else for the regular season point standings championship, and you're going to get bonus seeded by that. You need to win it to guarantee yourself the best chance possible. The 11 should have been watching the 45 all day. This is the first time, I think, all season, truthfully, that Chris Gale has made a mistake in his strategy where they messed up. They took their eye off the ball.
They got lucky that the 45 had that last.
Because if the 45 didn't have that tire go down, they were going to expand their lead back out to 50 points. Now, Hamlin can crush it back down again, but if you do that 2 weeks in a row and he builds it back up to 100, it's not guaranteed that Reddick cruises to the end, but you're going to have to fight tooth and nail to the end to get that position. And it's a 15-point difference or a 25-point difference from first to second in the seeding. So you need every one of them points, especially with the way your own cars are running. I mean, again, you said it: first, second, third, fifth. I don't want to have to race these guys if I'm him.
No, and the last thing on the points for me anyway, I was just looking at it. I mean, really, John Hunter Nemechek is only, what was it? 62 or 69 points out of 16th, and he's in 27th.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks ago, we said if you weren't 20th and up, you're done. Well, now I don't know if I can agree with what I said weeks ago.
Yeah.
You're not, I mean, back to 27th has not a legitimate shot, but if the 42 and the 43 keep rattling off what they've doing, there's potential there.
No, you're right. Absolutely. I'm looking back at when Bowman came back. Okay. Bowman came back because he's another one. He's buried back there. He missed a lot of races, but in his return, they failed to capitalize. They've only had two races where they collected more than 30 points
Yeah.
since he returned.
And the big
That's
loser in the last few weeks is Brad K. I mean, I know the 20's a big loser, but the Brad K is falling like a rock, dude. Like
yeah, the six
he was
car.
12th. He was 12th like what 6 weeks ago,
Yeah. Yep.
and now he's sitting there in 19th. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, if I go look at let me go to Coach Series races. Let's see the results. Let's go back. We just had the Anduril. Let's just go back to before the All-Star race. Driver points. As of the week before the All-Star race, Brad Keselowski was sitting in ninth.
Oh, I was way off.
So, or finished ninth that race. Let me see. Where's the point? Yeah. Point
Okay, I was
report.
about to say. I didn't think he was
Where's
over that.
I'm looking for that was the driver points standings. Reddick starts 12. No, it's right. Okay. So yeah. Brad's sitting in ninth in point standings as of Watkins Glen's finish. Bubba was in 10th. Bell was in 11th. Byron was 12th. Suarez, Cindric. Let's see. Denny was second, but he was over 130 back. Chase was 145 back. Blaney was 162 back. Busher was 192 back. Where's SVG? SVG was holding down 16th. So he'd climbed his way back up in there and then he'd fallen back out. Briscoe has worked his way back up. Pagano's been falling out. Ross, McDowell. But Eric Jones was 25th. John Hunter Nemechek was 28th. Bowman was still 34th, so he's improved like 2 spots in the standings, but that's pretty much it. Let's go back to
Connor Zillage is falling.
yep. Then let's
I
go
didn't
to
know you could fall on any part of it, but you can.
yep. All right, so Coke 600,
But
Brad drops to 11th. Shane climbs to 14th. Like he begins to start to build his gap up, and so
it's crazy. He lost points on a road course.
but it is where Eric Jones starts his climb, is Coke
Yeah.
600 weekend because he moves to 22nd points. Then we get to Nashville.
Not only Eric Jones, but Suarez. Suarez has climbed every week since Coke 600.
Yeah.
He was
Eric
already
Jones
in,
moves up a
but he
spot.
was fun.
Brad drops to 13th, and SVG increases again. We get to Michigan a couple weeks ago. Now Jones has jumped to 18th. So in 3 weeks, he's moved himself from 26th to 18th. So it's definitely doable. SVG still in 14th. Brad has tumbled from 9th to 15th in 3 weeks. And at this point, we look at it now, and he's on the outside looking in, and the hole keeps getting deeper. That's the big thing is.
And they're going to another road course where he just
we're going to
isn't good
another
at
road
it.
course. He's 19th now, and he is 100 points behind 12, just under 100 points behind 12. Like he could still do it, but he's going to have to really. Thankfully for him, some of the guys he's having to fight against, like he's only 67 to 54. He's only 13 points out of 16. With as bad and luck as he is having, he is somehow only 13 points back.
Yep.
And Priest, we got to remember, Priest is sitting with a 25-point penalty. If Priest gets back his 25 points, he jumps to 13th in points.
Yeah. But he's not getting those back. So
no, but just like that's how big those points penalties matter as we get further into the season, and just how big these mistakes are compounding.
Yeah.
So,
back
to
the race though. Like a lot of I've already seen a lot of people say not a lot, but a couple. Heim is lucky that the last caution came out. No, he's not. He would have won regardless. He was on Larson's butt. He
Yep,
was
he was.
on Larson's butt, and their pit crew did a pit stop, and they were still there. Like that's one of the
Yep.
things that I saw how good he was, and I'm like, well, it's a hand me down pit crew. It's the fourth team. It's a whatever. Larson should get at least 2 seconds on him. No, like they were there, and he was obviously better than Larson. So I think with or without the caution, Heim wins this race.
And let's look at where where they started the day. So the beginning of the day, it was a Ford Chevy basically domination in stage one. Toyota was the vast majority of the back end of the field in stage one, and that wasn't due to revs. We get into stage two, they're still nowhere really to be found at the end of the stage to gather any points. They don't really show up until we get to the end when it mattered for the finish.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that they played their strategy very well. Of it probably was a an OEM wide strategy. We're not necessarily the fastest cars here compared to SVG, so let's be smart and let's not take ourselves out early. Let the field make their mistakes. And it worked because at the end of the day, they had three in the top 10 fastest laps, and then all of their cars except for two, well, all of their full-time cars except for Bell were inside the top 25 in fastest number of fastest laps run. Heim had four of them. Bubba had three. So again, definitely improved on the road courses.
And you just brought it up, and I hate to do this, but that last run really shows you we have a we've talked about it, but we have a huge problem. When the Toyotas can gap 10 seconds and
Yeah,
five laps,
those two
and
put
five
on a
laps,
hell of
five
a
laps, they
performance. Five,
in
yeah,
5 laps, those two Toyotas gapped the Chevrolet of Larson by 10 seconds.
yeah.
There, there's an inherent issue there. Like I I hate to say it, but I know they're not cheating, but like the obvious thing is going back to the early 2000s, late 90s, like give give Chevy and Ford a little help, please.
Well, they just took some cars to the dyno. So we'll see what comes from that, if anything. Um,
Well, they took the wrong cars to the
but actually,
dyno.
I don't disagree. Um, so I don't know if you follow or watch sometimes, but there's a parody group on Facebook that does like short streams of the Formula One board and the rules. And so they'll
Uh,
parody like that. They're hilarious. Well, one of the ones that jumps to mind is like, so specifically for this year, Formula One's violation that everybody has is the engines are legal because they make compression at the limit based on the timing it's read by the sensors on the car. That they're making more compression in between the readings because the cylinders expand, and then when they are off throttle, they contract to make the proper compression. First off, it's fucking brilliant. I don't know why NASCAR guys haven't thought about this, but it points out the fact that Red Bull, teams like Ferrari, in this case Toyota, are definitely pushing all the gray areas. Be like, is that what the rule says? Does the rule say you have to have that throughout the entire thing, or at the specific times it's measured? Is it resting compression ratio, or is it at race? Because at different throttle rates, especially at a place like a road course or a track where there's a lot of throttle modulation, we see them stretch it out even more. So, yeah, they definitely have an advantage. We don't know for how much longer they'll have it. Uh, Larson gained 2 spots in the points today, so he's up
yep.
inside the top five in points
He,
now. He's needed that,
he's
but
got 1 point over fifth and
yep,
2 points over sixth. So
yep,
he's about 40 behind, 40 or 50 behind Blaney. So,
yeah. They've all fell back to Blaney, and then Blaney is way back on the other two. So if I'm
and
going
then
into
he
next weekend,
cut in 8 points.
yep. So if I'm Denny, if I'm the 11 team, I would be watching what I would just follow the 45 car. I know I can't beat them on speed, but whatever their strategy is, that's what you need to do. When they pit, you pit. Do not let them get way out there. You can't control the stages, but if you have the opportunity to pick up stage points, do it. But when we get into that final stage, if there's the opportunity to jump them or stay with them, you got to do it because it's there. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe, just based on his experience, that if he can come out of Sonoma in less than 20 points or even 30 points, it's his unless he blows it. Like,
Yeah.
just his experience is what's going to help him win because he's the last of his breed. You look at all of the people racing now, he is the last one that raced in that era of having hour-long practices, happy hours, all that stuff. Well, that's not true. Brad Keselowski's the other one.
Yeah.
Joey had some of it, but not a lot of it. So him and Brad are pretty much the only two that have that knowledge base to pull from, which is what has allowed them to succeed when maybe they should have fallen backwards otherwise. So, like you mentioned earlier, I was really impressed with the tire wear. I thought Bubba's comments to Bianchi were hilarious when he was asked earlier after practice, so how many laps in did your tire score? And he's like, who the fuck's paying you, Spire? Get out of here.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was funny. So anything else with the cup race before we go backwards to the next one?
Uh, just like I just want to reiterate, it was a great race, and that the only other thing that I really have is even though Larson finished third, it's obvious that Hendrick is still off on a road course because Byron did get in the top 10 for a minute.
Yeah.
Before he screwed the car up, and I think Elliott eked out like a top 15, but he was in the back 20s all day. And Byron was in the back half of the top 20, like the top 20 all day. So like,
yeah,
I know the 5 team has kind of went backwards in the sense of changing back to old setups and stuff, but it's obvious Hendrick has got some work to do on the road course because they're still off.
Yeah, they're definitely behind.
That's odd to see, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they're definitely behind still.
But yeah, I would do this race again next year, or find somewhere that you can have a race like this. The thing that pops in my head is IndyCar does Mid Ohio, and I'm pretty sure that's on a old airport trip, isn't it?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
So, but definitely, I don't want a bunch of road courses, but I could do one of these every year. But yeah, back to we can do the O'Reilly race now.
All right.
That race is actually longer than the one we just had.
Yeah, O'Reilly was by far one of the longest races in NASCAR history. That wasn't plagued by weather. We'll say that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with the first, the opening part, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So the O'Reilly cars again, they ran well, they raced well. I don't know if they were the best race car on the weekend in terms of the way they handled the track, them or the trucks. What did you think in terms of like which one ran better? We had a lot of issues, so we'll get to them. Whether it's the
As far
manhole
as
cover, the walls.
enjoyment, I looked at it as I enjoyed Cup, Trucks, and O'Reilly in that order, but they're all real close.
That's pretty much how like it was pretty much for me that order as well.
And I think it's because of how I think what turned me off of the O'Reilly race is you brought it up in the chat, the fact that the drivers in O'Reilly do not give breaks. It's you're in my way, get out of the way. Like Tanner Gray or Taylor Gray, whichever one he is, he ran over who was it? Who was it they ran over? The
Taylor Gray ran over Carson Quaffle, who
Quaffle.
raced him clean.
Yeah. Yep. Carson Quaffle racing clean, and he's like, "Nope, I'm winning this." No, you're not. Um, just insane. But yeah, I would put it that way. And to race out, I commend NASCAR. They had a manhole come up,
Yep.
destroyed the front of the 17, and 4 laps down, NASCAR they do the right thing and the wrong thing at the right time at the same time.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was
they
gonna say.
tell him, you know what, we're going to give you your laps back, but then they take from us and make us wait for him to make all those laps back when they can just do it on SMT.
Yep.
Or
And 9, they
because
re-entered
they're
the
like, well,
race
you
at
need to
lap
make the laps
6.
up. Well,
Yep.
he had to use his stuff up. He used up more fuel and more tire getting caught up than the cars that were on track. So like I get the whole thing, but like I appreciate that they did it, but they definitely if they ever have in case of rare instance like that again,
Yeah.
they need to go, no, just take the laps, let's get this going. Because we wasted 15 minutes getting him back on the lap.
Yeah. And
Not to mention the
also
30
mentioned
minutes.
start of the race. Uh, Jesse Love starts in the back. We'll get into his news, which I don't know if that was part of why he had to start in the back. If him moving to the reason why I'm leading to this. So did you read why Jesse Love had to start in the back first off?
I didn't know.
Okay, so Jesse Love and RCR, they're going to get a big penalty this week. They were sent to the rear because they were using lug nuts that had been modified and thin and halved in height so that they would come off faster. I can't help but think that now that he's been assigned to a Ford and not RCR, that they're like, well, if we're going to try something stupid, we're going to do it on this one because he ain't going to be here. And he already won a championship, so it's okay if we screw it in. That's my conspiracy theorist in me. But either way, that's just stupid. Like we're going to this big promoted, we've been promoting it for a year. We're going to do this since the schedule came out and all the hype and pomp and circumstance. And this is the event you choose to cheat in. I don't know if they've been doing it or they just finally got caught, but like this is the weekend. I would not want to be the showcase for cheating this weekend on a naval base where, and I say this as a former sailor, our core values are honor, courage, and commitment. So it's all about integrity and all that stuff.
So
Like, this is not where you want to do that.
the fan that went on the track, which one was he doing? Was it honoring or was
He
that
had some
courage?
courage there. He had some courage, some liquid courage, probably, maybe even a little,
How
California
stupid can
courage.
you be?
But
That's,
that
that's
was
so
wild
funny.
too.
You're gonna jump not one but two fences on a naval base and think you
Your
get away with
facility,
it?
think you're not going to get caught, like with all the cameras around, like I'm gonna blend in, No, so he
I
got
saw
arrested.
somebody post that said CW did him wrong and zoom
Yeah,
in on his face.
I don't know if he was a regular fan or a uniform fan, but I know he's gonna be asked in a not so polite way not to ever come back. And
Oh,
if
he's
he is
banned for life, guaranteed.
and if he is military, he's going to be seeing the captain or the admiral of that base in short order
Hmm.
and forfeiting. So anybody who doesn't know how the military justice system works. So the way that if he was military and the way that made the Navy look, he's going to end up getting a reduction in rank. They're going to take half month pay from him times 2 for 2 months consecutive. He's going to be restricted to quarters, so he won't be allowed to go home if he lives off base. He'll be basically living on the ship or on base. And after all that, he may or may not still be in the Navy because he just became a world star. So that was pretty friggin' stupid. And my wife and I
And he
tell
did
you
all that,
stories all day long
and
about all the dumb stuff that we've seen.
he did all that, and Sheldon couldn't even hear what he was saying.
Yep. I don't even know what he was saying. It was hilarious. It reminded me that, like I
Yeah,
said, that Matt Kenseth incident
yeah.
during the red flag at Watkins Glen all those years ago. Where it's like, hey, sign my stuff. And he's like, I'm racing, bro. So, yeah. So
But
stage one, that we have that manhole cover come up.
yeah,
I think it's the right thing to do. What they did at the same time, the right thing can be the wrong thing. Like, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it definitely
Yeah,
wasn't Corey Day and the 17 team's fault that the hole cover came up any more than it was the track. Than it was Jeff Gordon's team's fault 13 plus years ago when they were at Martinsville and
it
that part of the
was.
track came out. Yeah.
He
Oh yeah.
shouldn't have been
He just should have been there. Okay. All right.
there.
Show me your prejudice.
It's ironic. It's ironic that it happened to the same damn team.
Yeah, to the Hendrick team. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure when it happened in Daytona, it affected the Hendrick car there too, didn't
I think so, yeah.
it?
They tend to be the one they science out the track for
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah. So
Uh,
that all that the only
that's all the
other
first 10 laps of the race.
yeah. So they had a huge wreck where Sam Mayer just totally misjudged turn one.
Yep.
I mean, you can't misjudge a turn worse than Sam Mayer did. And what was that 20 cars took out in that
Yep.
wreck and then pushed the
23
wall
cars,
back
I believe.
a good 5 feet.
It was
Just
43 minutes long. The first red flag, I believe. Let's see. Trying to look for the time for the second. No, for that red flag, it was 43 minutes for that. I remember looking and I had walked away and I wasn't sure if they were going to finish the race because I looked on my YouTube TV schedule and it said the race was going to start at 8:30 at night. And I'm like, did it rain? It doesn't normally rain very much out in San Diego. I used to travel out there all the time for work. I'm like, I don't think it rained. I
yeah.
look and I'm like, why the hell are we on a red flag? And I rewind the broadcast and I see that massive wreck. And looking at inside Sam Mayer's car, again, thank God for safer barriers. And this is a case for why the hell didn't we have better barriers here this weekend? This is where those steel body cars, not as rigid as the cup cars, was on full display. I mean, they moved that wall way back. They broke some of the K rails. They had to spend almost an hour
Well,
making repairs.
the good thing is they are made to move. They're not made to be
Yeah.
stationary. So they're like a safer barrier, but just not as soft. So
I
at
mean,
least they did
they're
they
concrete.
did.
So it ain't like hitting those hollow steel with the foam.
But when you have 6 cars in a row piling into it, it's kind of gonna get a little bit.
Yeah. Um, I give the track credit, and NASCAR credit. They had the equipment there on standby, ready to go to replace damaged equipment, get everything back in place. They learned from the Chicago race, they learned from Formula One racing in Vegas and in Miami, and whatnot, because they also coordinated with Formula One and actually brought materials from the Vegas race to here to help make that course. Some of the fencing and the stuff, which I saw been put up last year while I was out there. So, um,
Hmm.
you know, interesting to see them, coordinating, even though they're competing series and foaming. Oh, thinks they're the best in the world. A lot of the time, to see the two competing series competing for, viewers and sponsorships and all the things that go with, top level motorsports work together in preparation to put on the event, to set up the track, to be ready to, in this case, address a very much needed damaged section of the track so that they could get back to it. So after that
So
massive wreck, we get back to racing. And as we get down to the end, it's looking like Carson Quaffel's gonna get this done. And I was rooting for him, like, all right, he's finally going to get it done. And he passed Taylor Gray clean. He got around him, didn't move him like he could have. Had plenty of opportunities, never did it. As Carson's lead started to shrink, Taylor Gray didn't hesitate to knock him out of the way. So if what we watched today for Sunday with Heim Time and Reddick, who is, a two-time series champion in the second series that we're talking about right now, and a regular season champion already, fighting for possibly the regular season champion again, driving like what we saw Taylor Gray do in a Toyota was the total antithesis of what we saw on display today. Like Taylor Gray just looks like a total daddy's money ass clown. There's no other
Yeah.
nice way to say it. Like he just looks like a punk
Mm.
who shouldn't be in that car because it takes no talent to do what he did. Now,
Yeah.
do we like it
That's
as
what
fans?
happens
Like,
when you
oh
come from
yeah, but it
drag
wasn't
racing.
like it was justified. He just ran him over.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come from drag racing. Him and his brother both came from pro stock. So you used
Yep.
to run in a straight line. You don't get the you know,
And he
the
said he,
fluidity.
wheel hop, but you can see it if you go back and you watch all the replays. Like he turned right into
He
his
he
door.
was he wasn't Will hopping. Will
Yep,
Hop
he
is
drove
obvious
straight
to
into his
see, and
door.
he was not Will hopping. That was just over driving,
Yep,
just like
he
Jimmy
overdrove.
Johnson all weekend.
Yep, yeah, like Jimmy Johnson, the bowling ball in the Truck Series. We'll get to that.
He began.
So,
So the
yep,
end of the race, you had I almost said 33. The 21, he gets past. He gives the 54 back what the 54 gave to the one, and legs out and wins the race. First win for RCR since the passing of Kyle, and you could tell it meant a lot.
yep,
RC was
choked up,
couldn't hardly talk.
voice cracked.
Right,
Yeah,
voice crack messed me up a little bit. Damn it. And then Austin's doing burnouts, but and I gotta commend him for this. He was doing burnouts beside the eight and not over the eight.
yep. He was respectful of
Uh,
the decal, the tribute.
so
Austin Hill made a lot of fans
uh,
yesterday. Not so much
yes, he
today,
did.
but he did
Yeah,
yesterday.
but
Yesterday all the guys that hopped on the bandwagon were probably like, "You motherfucker!" but he was for
and,
24 hours he had a bigger fan pool.
and I said this a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember if I said it on here or if I said it to one of you guys on the phone, but I said that he was a one trick pony, plate racing, and he showed today that he's not. And he's
Yep,
been showing it on road courses, but SVG was always there blocking him.
yep,
So he's got some good road racing skill. He don't have much sense when comes to giving up a spot when you know like he
yep,
was going into turn one today. But that'll come with a little bit more time, I guess. He's kind of getting older. He's been in trucks in O'Reilly for quite what about 10 years now. So
yep.
he should know better by now, but apparently not. But he won yesterday in good fashion, and if it wasn't Quapple, it was gonna be him because he those were the two best cars, in my
Yeah.
opinion, most of the day.
So Hill wins it. Allgaier has a bad day,
Very
but he
bad.
doesn't finish.
I think every time I looked up, he was backwards.
Yeah, he didn't have a very good day out there. Good showing for him, unfortunately.
It's a good thing he's
Uh,
locked into the chase now.
well, that's what I was going to say next. So, looking at their standings and their points, I'm not going to get as detailed to them. The big thing I wanted to point out, because we haven't talked about it since it happened, Justin Allgaier is locked into the chase, and he locked in 2 races ago. With 8 to go, he locked in. Well, we got 6 to go, and he can do whatever the hell he wants. He's good to go. They can practice whatever they want. They can help their teammates. The fact that he's got an over 400 with that bad performance, they've still got over a 400-point lead over the cut line. That's
But
nuts.
what is it over second?
224. 224. He could take off all of the races and he still wouldn't fall out of the cut line.
Oh my God.
He could just come
So
back at the start of the chase. Austin Hill has 148 points and he won the race. And he's 148 above the cut line. So Austin Hill, who won the race this weekend, 591 points. Justin Allgaier with his bad finish, 847. Still a 250 plus point cushion.
over who?
200 Allgaier to Hill, and Hill won, and he's
Oh,
sitting in fifth.
Hill.
To the cut line, 448 points. He has 400 more points than the cut line. He's
So
gonna be the guy that if all 3 series did this, NASCAR would have been like, we fucked up. Going back to
mm,
this system. But it is proving that, excellence across the board. This
yeah,
is sometimes you have people that run away with it. I think the rest of the field is thinking, God, there's a reset when we get to the chase
it,
cut line because they don't have a prayer.
it's also crazy. So if you look back to last week, I know we didn't record last week,
Yeah.
but if you look back to last week in O'Reilly, the 17 spins out lap one, takes out the two, and then this week it looks like the bad is just keeping rolling. Wrecks in practice. Then this on lap one, but they turned that with NASCAR's grace. They turned that around and got a good finish out of it. Can't remember where he finished, but
Yep.
they didn't lose ground when they really. If NASCAR didn't really give a shit, that they could have lost even more ground. Might have been looking at the cut line. So I kind of got to bring up the fact that I've been on team Day is going to the 48. You've been on team
Well,
Zillage
they
possibly.
meant the mention of Zilich. Um, if I was Rick, I'd be rethinking that for me
If he
personally. I don't
didn't.
know that I'd take either one of them right now because I think Day's still got some improving to do. He's not ready as much as I don't want to keep Bowman in there any longer than I have to, unless he's just not healthy. I don't think either one of them are ready. I think you're seeing that Zilich is not ready for Cup. That doing one whole season was a disservice to him. Because let's look at the guy who won this weekend in a part-time season, who doesn't have a full-time ride, damn sure should, but will next year. He's got 26 truck victories, and now he's got his first Cup victory. He's got no O'Reilly wins, but he's been close. He's
Yeah.
got a ton of uh, ARCA slash K&N series type wins. So experience matters, proper seasoning matters. Look at Joe Gibbs, look at Ty Gibbs. Same thing. Experience, Ty Gibbs lit up the middle tier when he was there and he won his championship. And then he struggled for the last 3 years. And he's finally figured out how to put together a complete race, which has resulted in him winning and climbing the standings and being a contender for the championship by keeping himself inside that top 8 positions that they think it's going to take to win one of these things this year with this new format. So, if all the odds are on Zilich, Corey Heim is making the case for don't rush it, do it the right
Yeah.
way. Because I mean, he didn't luck into it. He took it. He
Yeah.
won that race straight up. He's led races earlier this year, straight up on speed, not on fluke strategy. And when he doesn't insert himself into the problem, make himself a problem for the other people who are racing full time for a championship, all while going down there and spanking the truck field, showing the rest of them how unready they are compared to. He's got 26 wins and 94 starts, so 30% win ratio, close to.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So speaking of doing it right, let's move to trucks, shall we?
All right, so now let's go
The
backwards
best
to the first
best
race.
quote of the weekend. I want to say it.
Yep.
Called himself Lane VanRiggsbergan.
Yeah.
And like talk about, I mean, he won at Long Beach and
Yep.
he pulled it out and he had some help from I was rooting on Tyler Reif for how you say his name.
Yeah, Tyler Reif.
That kid is 17 years old, Alan, and almost won a truck race.
Yep. He made one mistake, and that's all
Yeah.
you can have. He went into that corner.
And
Drove
did you
into
hear
the
what
Jeep.
Lane said he did? He faked like he was going to dive, had no intention to, and made him cook the corner.
Yep, he got into his head. He did what SVG does, and
Mhm.
he gave Joey Hand credit for all the work that Lane's been doing with him in the Ford and the racing program for the road course and improving it. Yeah, he's solidly now in the points lead by 65 points. So he's got over almost a full race lead with all the bonus points included in there. So he's comfortably in position to win the regular season championship with the amount of races remaining.
Yep.
And he's
Those
again,
trucks.
he's another one that's doing it right. He's taking his time. He's not pushing the issues. He's definitely driving the right way.
Yeah.
And
Those trucks are to beat.
and he's hot. He's won 3 of the last 4. And
Yeah.
he's 5 wins on the season. But he's
Yeah.
right now he's damn near unbeatable unless
Mhm.
Heim time, who beat him the week before, comes
Yeah,
down, and then but otherwise he's been unbeaten since Kyle Busch.
yeah.
Kyle Busch's passing has
Hey,
won the last three other than Corey.
and again, I don't remember if I said it on here, if I said it to one of you or Chris on the phone, but I'm sorry, but if Noah Gregson, who got into it with Kevin Magnuson after today's race, we got to talk about that. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't get a chance to see that.
Yeah, they had a heated conversation. Apparently, Kevin wrecked Noah, and Noah wanted to know why, and Kevin told him that he's a dumbass. So
Well, that's nothing we didn't already know.
you'll have to look that up after we get off here.
Yeah,
It's funny, but if Noah leaves and goes to
three
another ride,
or another
the
ride.
the 33, like we're thinking, but I
Yep.
got a feeling after this weekend, potentially, I know he screwed up in the Cup race, but I've got a feeling Austin Hill is going to be the full time driver of the Cup car next year. What if he doesn't and Noah goes wherever? If you don't bring Lane up, it's a huge disservice to what he's done. He's been your flagship driver in trucks for a couple years now, and I don't you don't need to go to O'Reilly anymore, in my opinion. I know
No.
you and Chris disagree with that, but
Well, I'm not. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think based off what we're seeing with
Corey
how
Heim proved that
truck.
today.
Yep. Well, I was going to say the big thing is looking at. All right, so Zane Smith running well, Todd Gilliland running like Gregson's well behind his teammates comparatively to the uptick Smith and Gilliland are both showing
Yeah.
week in and week out. If I agree with you, if I'm replacing anybody, regardless if no one wants to leave or not, I honestly like I'd put Lane Riggs in there. You can't possibly finish worse. They're already
And,
29th and
and
plummeting in point.
I would do Lane Riggs over the supposed potential of Josh Berry going there.
I agree because Barry and Gregson are delivering the same
And,
results.
and I
I would,
agree with Junior today. If that I think it was Junior. They said that front row needs to lock up Zane Smith multi-year right now. Because if I was Rick Hendrick, if
yep,
I'm not going with if I'm not going with Village or Day, I'm grabbing that kid.
yep. And don't forget, Smith was a trackhouse driver before
And
he
they
ended
got
up
rid of him
front
after
row.
1 year.
Yep, they got rid of him after 1 year so they can make room for SVG, and then after that, they got rid of Suarez to make rid who was the foundational driver to make room
And
for
where's
Z.
Suarez in points now?
And
Eighth,
Suarez is sitting firmly. Yep,
seventh, or eighth.
Suarez is sitting eighth, uncontested right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little bit to catch Busher. 22 points would get him there. And he's got a 2 point lead over Hosevar, but a 40 plus point lead over Chase Briscoe
Yeah.
and 50 plus on Bubba Wallace. So he's solidly, I don't see him falling out unless he has a dramatic. There's a couple guys that I just don't see falling out unless they have dramatic tumbles like Brad Keselowski, which is not
Yeah.
undoable with 8 races to go, but unlikely to happen. So,
So
but back to trucks. So the
yeah.
finish.
So
Let's talk about that finish. The way in which Riggs and Rife raced all the way to the end was fantastic.
oh yeah.
They set the tone for the rest of the weekend. Taylor Gray dropped the ball. They were like, "Look at this beautiful thing." And he's like, "Oh fuck, I broke this crystal vase." And then 2311 picked it back up and was like, "Here you go. Happy Father's Day. Here's your busted
Yeah.
flowers." So, 2 out of the 3 put on a hell of a show. And the middle one had like if you're a fan, like a true fan or a newcomer, I think this weekend had everything for you. We had
Mm-hmm.
speed, we had carnage, we had hard racing that was clean, and we had hard racing that was dirty. Uh, and you had lots of heated tempers. You just mentioned that confrontation. Like this overall as a package weekend for NASCAR for a newcomer was probably damn near perfect for the on track product. We'll talk
Yeah.
about the off track stuff after here. Um,
So
but yeah, go ahead.
what did you make of the to get back with the race, the 11 and the who did he wreck? The 38. The 11 and 38
Yeah,
go down on a
yeah, Chandler
restart and just
Smith and
like
Honeycutt. I thought Honey Nut Cheerio there fucked up. He got out a
yeah,
couple weeks ago when he was doing great things. He's in the same truck that Heim won all his races in. Got out and said, "I'm the best there is." Yada yada yada. You're not that damn good, dude, if you can't not run over people. The guy
yeah.
who seat you just hopped in just won his first cup race, and he doesn't even have a full time ride, and he did
Yeah.
it without doing anybody dirty, and he doesn't speak very, he doesn't go out there and boast. He just does. It's my turn.
We
That's
we
it.
spoke pre-truck race and we said there's no way anybody beats Hayden, but he beat himself.
Yep, he
So
beat himself.
uh it's crazy. And then there's two other things. I feel bad for Jamie Mack.
Yeah,
Uh
man, what a hit.
God, man, he was doing good. He wasn't doing great, but he was doing good. He's staying around mid 20s,
Going to break his back
high
riding that
20s,
bull.
and just totally blew the last corner of that racetrack and destroyed that Ram. Oh my God, that truck's
Yeah.
done.
And the other
The
one, Jimmy Johnson
yep,
qualified P4, practiced well, raced well in the first half, and
lead
then
time.
lost his mind in the last
He
portion of the
became Jimmy
race.
Jam.
He forgot that he's not. He said, "I'm not Jimmy Johnson anymore. I'm Jimmy Jam." Exactly. So he messed up big time.
I I
Uh,
think I
it was a
think
good
he
looking truck.
needs to learn how to deal with his brake bias because he had an issue with the truck race and the cup race. Like,
Yep.
dude, these aren't Gen 6 cars. Like, you need to ask your teammates, what do you do? Because this ain't working for you.
Well, for Jimmy Johnson, so the Daytona 500 next year is his last race, and that's good because he's sitting there on the radio in the trucks, bitching about the race etiquette and everything. Clearly, he ain't been paying attention while he's been in all those other Cup
He's
races
part of the
because
problem.
since he left, they don't race like that anymore. He can go ask Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, any of those guys. Let's look at what happened when Brad Keselowski came in. Let's look at what happened when Joey Logano came in, and like the guys that would take it 2 and 3 wide. When Kyle Larson got in there, and like every chance you had, or Kyle Busch, like if there's a spot, I'm gonna take it and fill it. And now it's Carson Hocevar. That's not how we race anymore, like it or not. And Jimmy Johnson has been out long enough. I think he's forgotten that these young guys don't care that he's Jimmy Johnson. They're
Nope.
racing to try and keep a sponsor on their truck and to keep their seat. They're not a 7 time champion who can fund their own ride and bring all this money and the sponsors and everything. They've got small sponsors. They don't have Carvana. So these guys are fighting tooth and nail, and he's down there playing and then getting upset with them. And I think he's in the wrong. So,
I know he's already in the Hall of Fame,
yep.
7 time, whatever, but he's ruining his reputation
Oh,
one
yeah.
race at a time.
Yep. It really makes you question how he became the greatest that he is. Because if this guy doesn't race like this guy over here that's in the Hall of Fame.
No,
He didn't race like it when he was in IndyCar, and he hasn't run like it since he's been back. It makes you wonder, like Father Time is undefeated. He's lost whatever he's lost. Plus, he's also not with the Titan that has entered motorsports and with Chad and Nails, these brilliant minds anymore. I think what it does show, not to discount what he did while he was in the 48, but it does show how much of a role his success was dependent on them. Yeah, he was ice cold behind the wheel, but he had a rocket ship that you couldn't beat most of the time too. And the two
yeah,
of them together, now when you give him something he's got to work more on, he's not as good. So between age, not having the top tier best of the best equipment, you see more of his flaws exposed, which I wouldn't pick on him as much, except for Denny Hamlin, who is from the same era, is arguably the best version of a race car driver he's ever been for himself in this car. This car.
unfortunately.
Yep. Unfortunately, if you're not a Toyota and Denny Hamlin fan, you're in for a long period until something changes. So,
So I asked you on chat or on
yeah.
a phone this morning, I believe. I can't remember when it was, but we're so outside of the racing this weekend that we both spectacular, great. Heather Gibbs, is there?
Yep.
I'm hoping not. Does she have a big enough bag of money and a big enough bag of checkered flags to get Denny to sign past 27?
I think they got enough money. I think Denny is afraid of being Jimmy Johnson, that the switch is going to flip. And he doesn't want to be DW, Jimmy Johnson, those guys. He
Well,
wants to go out like Jeff Gordon did. I want to be a threat for the championship and drop the mic and walk off. Matt Kenseth didn't get an opportunity to do that, unfortunately. Jamie McMurray didn't get a chance to do that. There's a couple guys that were not given that opportunity. Kyle Busch was not going to be given that opportunity, unfortunately. He was going to have a ride, but he wasn't going to be a threat, staying where he was. And we won't know what could have happened there if he could have gotten a different ride before he was done. But so
in
I
2018 or 2019, I thought he had a year left. I did.
yeah.
You had Bell coming up, you had other drivers coming up quick, and I said, he's done. And now he's rattled off probably 25, 30 wins since then. And it's like, it's crazy how these drivers, Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, they hit 40, Martin Truex,
Yep.
and they're like, they skyrocket. Like something just clicks in their
Well,
head and
let's
they don't know how to
let's for
race.
Denny, let's just stick to Denny for a minute. So 2018, Denny goes winless. Not a threat. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen. He gets paired with Chris Gabehart. Set aside the law stuff. Now you got Chris Gabehart. Chris Gabehart, I think, was similar to Steve Letarte was for Dale Jr. for Denny. And he came in there, found out what they needed to succeed, set the template that Chris Gale has now picked up and improved upon in his own words, but forced Denny to put in the work. Like, you want the result, you're going to have to do all the work that the other guys are doing. And so when Gabe Hart left, he had set up, pretty much the perfect model for success with the 11 team because Gale has said, all I've done is come in there. I'm the only thing that changed, except, he'll talk to them about their processes and he'll make small tweaks, but he has discussions. And you see, since 2019 to now, Denny, I think like Rodney and Harvick when they left RCR, has won more races in that set of pairings than they did before when he was with Mike Ford and his other pairings. So, I mean, it's definitely it's further proof that chemistry is definitely a big thing. First
So
off,
you think you can sign him?
I do think she's got enough money. I think what you have to worry about is whether or not I think Denny's fear of the switch flipping at his age, like because I was it Denny who said it or Jamie said one of them. It was Jamie McMurray. He was doing something. They were at a short track, and I believe it was Jamie. I could be wrong, but I think it was Jamie mentioned that a couple of years ago when Denny started this calculation of when he wanted to retire, he was already asking like, when does it happen? At what age? Like, when does your eyesight go? Like, around what age does it, your vision, your reflex responsibility? Like, he's been talking to these guys that are recently like out of the car and like, oh, Jamie Mack, when did you start having to wear glasses? I don't remember that. Like, some people it's hereditary, some people it is normal age. It doesn't seem to be hereditary for Hamlin. It does look like it is for Logano. Uh, but so for some of the other guys, where like JJ, he doesn't.
No, Logano's not even that old.
No, no, no. If Logano could get back his winning ways, bald Logano looks like a badass. So right now, bald Logano can't get out of his own way. So
Yeah.
it's like a badass who's in a sub car. Um, so let's talk about the event as a whole. So we thought the racing was great, the track layout, like spectacular. I saw a lot of stuff reported by Bob Pockris, Gluck, and them for the event about food running out before even the first stage was over on day two. Water stations not either being shut down or not where they said they were or running out. Extremely long lines everywhere you saw on TV.
The
Uh,
train was only held
the
16
tram,
people.
Yep, a tram that only holds 16 people. You have to get there by ferry or through these long bridges. Now, I don't blame all of that on NASCAR because, again, prior military, having worked on military bases, I think they, I think they did a really good job for what set of challenges they were presented with. You have to remember a couple things. I'm not saying the fans aren't wrong about the total experience, but you're talking about this facility in particular. At the opposite end is North Island. That's home to elite fighter training and uh, weapons groups. The southern end, Coronado, is home to U.S. Navy SEALs training and Special Warfare Command. So you're on one of the most restricted, sensitive facilities you can think of. Trying to race, that's a pretty big deal. To try and get all that, and then you got to think about, all right, you got people coming on with criminal records, people coming on with foreign passports, you got all this stuff that you got to deal with. But you know, it kind of reminds, I'm sure it'll remind people of like Kentucky with the parking situation and everything back in the day, or some of these others. But so what do you think about what you were seeing and reading for all that stuff about just the fan experience from what you saw? Like we watched it from TV, so to us it looked fantastic. But we weren't standing in lines in the sun where there's no shit, no cloud cover. San Diego is hot, no humidity, thankfully. But yeah,
I mean, I kind of, in my opinion, I kind of get what you expect because that's a lot of people on a base that doesn't normally have that many people on it.
yeah,
And yes, you knew you were sold out, but you still don't really know how much people are going to eat. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it, it's hard to judge that stuff. I know I went to many sporting events where they ran out of food. Usually it's racing where they ran out of food, like chicken tenders or types of food, whatever. But I think if they do it again, they may not do it next year. Maybe they do it every couple years or something. If they do it again, they'll learn from it, you know. But what they need to do is, I'm sure that Texas Motor Speedway or some a track that's close could let them borrow their tram system
yeah.
to take people around and stuff. As far as
Well,
I
where's all
know,
the trams and
I
auto
read a
club?
guy walk 5 miles to his seat. Like
Yeah,
you can't have people walk. The first cup race in Kentucky, I walked 2 miles to get to the track
yeah.
on the first race night. But it's just part of the learning experience.
So I'll
So
say for the food thing, I just wanted before this all gets out of my head. Again, prior Navy, if you haven't been on a Navy ship, you have no idea what kind of facilities are in there. I think this was a missed opportunity for the Navy and the food industry that is within the military complex, whether that's on the ships or it could have been a golden opportunity for recruiting, even for your younger crowd,
yeah,
because you have the option to, you have a carrier there. Okay. Carrier houses 5,000 people at times. It's got multiple cafeterias. You could have had them being the ones serving the food. You could have used the galleys that are on base to feed the upwards of 50,000 employees that are on that base between the fighter wings and all the ships and all the stuff. Like that was a missed opportunity in my mind of available logistics that you didn't have to bring in, that all you had to do was fund. You could have written a check to, OpNav, that funds Navy operations for all the food and the stuff and provided it and just had it to use their facilities even as an option. So, I don't expect anybody to understand this if you've never been in the military, but to me, you have all these resources that you're supposed to, you didn't use any of them. And it was a golden opportunity both for recruiting for the armed forces that you missed by not doing so, because you could have people on those ships touring these facilities, and then also alleviated some of the problems with the race. So with the race infrastructure for the fan.
yeah.
Um, or anything else you want to talk about for the San Diego weekend before we get into some of the silly season stuff and the other stuff from last week that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah, I got like 5 minutes I can do. I don't have any more on the weekend. I don't believe.
All right, so now let's move on to silly season for a minute. So Josh Berry, we knew was more than likely going to be out. He outed himself that he was not returning to the 21 next year. And then this week came the announcement that it's going to be Jesse Love, which he was one of the rumored names to go in there. Last week on DJD, Denny Hamlin said, if I'm Jesse Love's team, I would be asking a lot of questions. I'm very curious to see if they did any of that because it sounds like he's signed for a long-term deal with the Wood brothers. And it sounds like this was Penske's decision, not the Wood brothers' decision, based off of John Wood's comments that he released, in the audio XN interview earlier. So, if I'm going to, and we talked about it in our group, I just came off winning a championship. Granted, it was the Mickey Mouse system, but either way, I've been a contending winning car. I'm going to hop into a back marker car for an OEM that's struggling, that's third of three in the Cup Series, and I'm going to be in the fourth of four cars with that organization. I don't know that that's a step up. If anything, that's a step backwards. Other than he may be making more money financially, he's not going to be a threat on the weekends. I don't see him doing what Corey Heim did today in that car. So what do you think about his move? Like that's kind of how I view it. Um,
It Well, I think there's two sides to it. I mean,
yeah,
I get why you would want to. I mean, that's a famous car to jump into, but the last three or four people that's been a joke. Like it's been an absolute joke. Yeah, they got to win.
yep.
One of them was
Harrison
a
Burton gets
fight
a win,
win, and
late
the other
track.
one was
Barry
a
at least was a legitimate win in
strategy.
Vegas.
But Vegas was a strategy win. They got lucky on a
Yep.
pit on a
Um,
caution,
Blaney's was Pocono.
and that
Yep.
was a pure out. They won that race out and out.
Yep.
But like it is a famous ride, and it is done by Penske. The car is, everything is done at Penske. They said it somewhere, but the Wood Brothers shop has like a couple old cars in it, and they're just sitting there. Like there's
Yeah, because
nothing
John
gets
Wood said
done.
like everybody has a seat at the table, including Penske and their sponsors and stuff like that. So I guess my
But
question would be, if I'm John Wood, I'm the heir apparent to run this famous organization. It's been around since the birth of the sport. What is my goal? I feel like I need to sit there and ask myself, what is my goal for this company long term? Because
the question should be, what is my goal for Penske to do? Because it's obvious Penske's not putting the same effort in that car as they are the
no,
12.
Blaney led a lot today, and it wasn't by a fluke. He had fast car.
Yeah,
Bad strategy toward the end, but a very fast car.
yeah.
But this is the first time in a long time that we've seen Blaney since earlier in the early spring look like he did earlier.
Yeah. So,
But
but the other half to that is RCR wasn't about to promote him. They were going to keep him in the two again.
no, and I'm not sure he even had the option to stay at the two.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to be completely harsh on like making it a very bad decision. I'm just looking at what you're in versus where you're going. This is not a step
Well,
up.
if they weren't going to keep him even in the two, you got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Why not go to the big show? And
Yep.
if you can, and the rumor that I heard, I can't remember where I heard it, but the rumor I heard was that he was this close to going in the two, and the
Yes.
Cedric was going to go to the 21.
Well, Dale Jr. and TJ and them talked about like that was a possible option. Like he would go into the two and Cindric would jump down to the 21. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I did hear that.
But if I am if if I'm Jesse Love, I am trying to bring Danny Stockman with me.
Yes, downforce Danny.
They are good with each other. I know Danny likes him, so it would make sense to bring Danny with you if you can, because I don't believe the crew chief for the 21 is just I just don't think he's cup worthy. So or maybe just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to say this: the crew chief for today for the winning car of Heim was I had it. That's fun. He used to be Bubba's crew chief, but
Yep.
obviously they have a good sense of what each other wants. I think Heim could have won Texas if the caution fell differently.
Yep.
And
Well, and to that point, Heim's going in the 35. We don't know what number it'll be next year. Maybe it'll be the 67. They'll drop the 35.
they said 35. I kind of, with him winning in the 67, I would like them to keep him in the 67. But I know
All I was
that's
gonna say is
speculative.
Herbst is since early spring, finally it's clicked in his second year and he's turned it around. He's climbing the points.
Mhm.
So I hope for his sake that he does get that ride with Legacy next year. I'd hate to see him go backwards. He's showing that he can get it done in that third car that Heim's going to jump in. But I'd like to see him stay. Earlier in the year, like we all figured he was out, he is out, but he was not showing anything compared to what he did when he was running for he ran for Haas, right? Last year. Or not last year, the year before. 2 years ago. Yeah. So when he was winning with Ford. So, he's definitely proven he could be there. He's outrun and outpoint scored Noah Gregson, Austin Dillon, Josh Berry, Ty Dillon, Alex Bowman, who's been out, but Cole Custer, Connor Zillage. You know, you know, he's outperformed other people. So he's definitely proven that he deserves another shot. So I'm hoping he gets that because he's flipped that switch that it takes to get the performance. And the way he's been running, it wouldn't surprise me if I saw him win before his year's over. He very well could. We've seen even their sidecars are capable. Bubba was a contention today. Reddick till the tire loss. Heim ultimately won, and Herbst has been, he ran inside the top 10, on speed and managing the car and didn't make a lot of mistakes. In a race today that had a lot of errors. So
Yep.
I'm trying to think of what else. Is there anything else we had to talk about? We hit Algar locking into Chase ungodly early. Uh, you know, probably
I
two,
can
three
see
more races, and I
Josh
think that's
Berry.
going to be the
I
same
can
thing
see
with some
Josh
of these
Berry
others.
going down to the 7 car and probably.
Yeah, I could see that. If Allgaier does decide to retire, I can see Barry going back down into the 7. Uh, or maybe he goes and gets in the 1, gets the full time sponsorship that Carson can't, and Carson can go in something else. I was happy for Raja this weekend. He got to run that Navy car that was like the first car that Chad McCumbee and those other guys ran for Dale Jr. when Junior Motorsports was first getting going in those early days. With that dark blue and white. Unfortunately, he got dumped for no reason.
Yeah.
Running well. Uh, but up until that point, he was doing what he's supposed to. Even though he was missing the back bumper, he kept the car all pointed straight and everything. So too bad
That's
for
another
Raja.
thing I wonder what's going to happen to next year. If Day does move up, do they move Raja to the 17?
I'd like to see Raja get a full time opportunity with the dedicated resources that he deserves because I believe he has what it takes, just like Bubba does. And our sport does need that diversity. I want to see uh, Jade Avedisian get her shot if she can prove that she works her way up. And then I can't remember the girl's name who's in the truck right now for Toyota. Do you remember her? I don't think she runs full time right now, but has the Victoria's Secret sponsorship.
I don't know who you're talking about, I guess.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Like there's a lot of good people coming up that there's only so many seats at the table. So,
Yep.
but back to one quick thing. Back to your question about the money and Heather Gibbs. Well, Denny did win everybody a whole lot more money, so they have more money to keep it now. So maybe his court battle got him the money he needed to be able to stay. Because
I have him. I ride off in the sunset. Um,
if he
with
wins
my
the championship, I could very well see him like, I'm done. And You move Brent Cruz up early. I don't think he's ready, but he'll get there.
Well, he'll be ready by 2028.
Yeah. If I'm the other teams, especially if I'm Ford, Toyota is positioning themselves to be unbeatable at this point. You've got champions and race winners across the board in a lot of these cars for Toyota. And you've got young guys in them too. You've got Heim's moving over to 2311. 2311 is going to give JGR a run for their money. JGR may end up having to put 2311 down like they did Furniture Row if it
Yep.
keeps going because they're taking their lunch money on a
Uh,
weekly basis other than
the
Hamlin.
problem is 2311 has Michael Jordan backing them, so they don't really
Yeah.
need the
Well,
support anyway.
and Denny has said in his podcast, like the 2311 4020 JGR relationship flows very much both ways. Like JGR gets a lot of its good information, which has allowed them to keep up from the 45 team, from the 23 team,
Yeah.
even from the 35 team in some instances. So,
And I'm sure that Joe Gibbs today is looking at Ty and going, "Why can't you just got along with that kid?"
uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
Because
JGR wouldn't put him in a car full time, and he just
yeah,
took everybody's lunch money this weekend.
yeah.
And he's
But
gonna
yeah,
be,
I
yep.
gotta hit.
I will say that, unlike there's no guarantees, obviously. Zilich won 10 races last year. I don't think anybody would have predicted this awful rookie season. I don't
No,
see that happening with Heim.
no, I don't either. The kid's calculative. I think Zillage is more kamikaze. If we can look at Days of Thunder references, uh,
That and Zilich, when it comes to stock cars, Heim has extensively more experience than Zilich.
yeah,
Zilich has more global racing discipline with Trans Am and this other stuff. Um, and he's kind of like the Zilich right now is the Joey Logano of his generation, where everybody said he's the next greatest thing since sliced bread. And it took till he got with the next team to truly show what he could do. He was a world star at nationwide level when he was with JGR. He didn't do well at JGR's Cup program, but as soon as he got with Penske, 3 championships and a shit ton of wins, and a hell of a race car driver. And I do wonder if that's what we have with Zilich. You know, Obviously Trackhouse is struggling. Will they get it turned around so Zilich can show what he can truly do outside of a road course, or are we going to see a wasted opportunity?
uh, I I'm starting to think he's going to be the next
Casey Atwood.
Casey Atwood. Yep,
Yep.
exactly. You knew where I was going.
It could very well happen. All right, buddy. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a long one. Sorry about missing last week. We had a lot going on. I'm glad we were able to get this done before I actually have to fly to San Diego tomorrow.
Yep.
So I'll get to see him tear everything down out
Yeah,
there.
you'll have to let us. You'll have to give us some updates on that.
I'm gonna have to go see if I can find some street workers that have piles of sheet metal to get a hold of. Be like, see, I was there.
I guarantee you that shit's gone by tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, Racing Warehouse is going to have a blast. If not,
Oh yeah,
I would hope they gave it away to the sailors, but the
I
style
doubt it.
stuff like that. But no, probably not. So that's our show. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week after Sonoma. Uh, Hopefully a less carnaged race. In fact, they don't have concrete walls all the way through the hills. Should be
No, it's
yeah,
not a concrete track, so it's probably gonna be boring as hell.
probably. I already know it ain't gonna be green. So
Oh,
anyway, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend.
later, guys.